everybody, and welcome into the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. And this weekend, we do have some football. It's not Michigan football, but some folks who participated in Michigan football will be playing in the big game. But it is a huge weekend nonetheless. And I think you know what we're talking about. Welcome in. Here it is, a February the 6th. 2026. I hope you're doing well here. I am. I've got basketball to talk about last night. Burnett's outburst. We'll get to that. Who else played well for the Wolverines in their rout over the Nittany Lions in Ann Arbor? That's going to be fun to talk about and look ahead to what Michigan has on the hardwood coming up on Super Sunday. And the women, they will also be out there on Sunday. They'll be in Ann Arbor hosting a Big Ten game, and that makes it a fun back-to-back Super Sunday if you're a Michigan fan. And tonight, though, is really gets everything going. And you've got Michigan and Michigan State in hockey. And we're going to talk about that. And let's do that right now. Tonight, tomorrow night, it's going to be awesome. And let's get an interview in and connect with a guy who will be there, Ben Holden. And let's connect with him right now. Well, and what we have at hand is a game, an event that needs no buildup. It's U of M and MSU, but for the first time, it'll be number one versus number two, and Ben Holden will call both games this weekend on TV, and he joins us right now, and it's great to see him. Ben, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good, Dennis. I was happy to see your message last night. I think I saw it when I was coming home from the rink for my men's league game and was like, yeah, man, I'd love to come on and talk with you. It's been a long time. We go way back. And the hockey gods are looking down on myself, man. And me and Fred Pletch get to call both games, the Friday games on FS1. They picked that up after we did the first game in the series back in December. And I think the ratings were through the roof. And, they decided to pick that game up. We were already doing the game at Little Caesars on BTN. So thank you to the hockey guys, man, because I live for this stuff, as you know.
Oh, man. I have to thank you. I was looking at your Twitter feed, and I don't know, a day or two ago, it popped up on Netflix. It said Miracle. And I said, I've only watched Miracle once. And so that'll be cool. Maybe I'll watch it again, fire me up. And then I see you say it actually wasn't, this was not we'll get to it in a little bit, but
sure,
it was actually not the Miracle movie. It was a documentary, which was pretty cool. And then I watched a little bit of it. And so that was for some people that would watch it and know that was Al Michael saying what we have at hand is a game, an event. And so I stole that from him. But this really is, these teams, it's great anytime, but it was, I don't know about stunning, but it was surprising to me that it was 1 versus 2 for the first time.
Yeah, it was 1 against 3 back in December when we did the game at Munn. We did game 1 of the series, didn't get to do game 2, but and that was the first time that had happened. And, all the years I worked in Lansing, from 98 to 04, those Michigan State teams were still pretty good back then. And I was really surprised too. It's really the first time in the poll era, the modern era of college hockey, that these two have been 1 and 2. And, it's amazing to see what both these coaches have done, Dennis. Brandon Naurato, I've been around calling college hockey so long, I called his games. I called Adam Nightingale's games. And they're both in their 4th year. It's dead even. And it's only a couple goals that separates them. And I think it's 16 meetings they played. It's amazing how close it's been. It's amazing how both these coaches, they're in their mid-40s, have rejuvenated these programs. There's a great amount of respect. I know there's a lot of stuff last week with Izzo and Dusty May and, basketball going at it back and forth. But this has a ton of respect to it. And both these coaches understand the significance of these games. They're 1 and 2 in the NPI. Michigan's currently at 77.7. Michigan State is at 77.3. That's the new pairwise, like whatever they use, the Ken Palm or whatever they use in basketball. So, I mean, there's so many things that are similar. I've got tons of numbers in front of me. I won't bore you with them unless you ask, but everything is so close. 22-4 for Michigan, 21-5 for Michigan State, 13-3, 12-4 in the Big Ten. It just doesn't get any better, man.
I've got some numbers for you. 7 o'clock tonight, FS1, Ben Holden, Fred Plesh, and then tomorrow for the duel in the D, it's 6:30, and that's on the Big Ten Network. I was just watching Michigan defenseman Tyler Duke said he's from Ohio, and he said, "Yeah, this is completely different. You know, you don't know until you get out here." And he was given the stuff that you like to hear. You know, we don't like each other, and then he said about the duel in the D. You know, they play for the trophy. And he said, it's like a game on steroids. If I take you to tomorrow night, they'll be at the LCA, so they're at the pro rink. They like that. But I've been down to a lot of GLIs, and you have the crowd coming about 50-50, right? And so you know, they'll be going back. Well, what's it like? I mean, I know you love Mon, I know you love Yost, but then for the duel, that kind of is a special thing all of its own.
It's amazing. I mean, last couple of years, it's been since they started that downtown at Little Caesars. It's been the highest attended regular season college hockey game of the year, and it's going to be again. And last year wasn't much of a game. Michigan didn't have a very good year last year, and if you remember, Dennis, Brandon Arado said, "Never again on my watch will this happen." Them missing the tournament, it was a down year for Michigan, but he has rejuvenated his team. He's brought in some super high-end talent. The goaltending thing, which we may get into, is another story right now. But it's a good story for Michigan right now. We're going to find out a lot more about their goaltending in this weekend series. But, I mean, it reminds me of the Joe in a way. Like you said, man. I mean, we were down there in the heyday of the rivalry back in the 90s, early 2000s, mid-2000s until Michigan State took a downhill spiral for a decade. I mean, the rivalry wasn't really a rivalry. It was to me, in many ways, it was like football for a long time. It wasn't a rivalry because both teams weren't on even playing levels. And so that's where it's changed. And, these two teams, I mean, I'm not afraid to say it. They're 1-2, and to me, they're the two best teams in the country. And if one of them doesn't win a national championship this season, I'm going to be stunned. They're that good.
Well, it's been since 98 for Michigan, and I remember in 96 going down to Cincinnati, and I guess both of their national championship games went into overtime, but that one went into overtime down in Cincy against Colorado College, and I went down there, and my friend said, well, you never know when you're going to get a chance to watch a team win a national championship. Well, it's just a couple of years later, and I'm like, oh, this is going to happen all the time. It hasn't, and so, when I see TJ Hughes, who I love, Michigan's captain. He's everything about college hockey. You listen to him, you watch him play, and he was saying, they're the two best teams at the moment. There's really no argument about that. So, the measurement stick part. But let me go to what you said, and it's been on my mind. I was going to lead with it, but then I said, let me just finesse it in. Michigan has Stephen Peck, who took over for Jack Ivankovic, who is a great goaltender. Let's start with Peck. He's 5-0, but how big of a series is it for him? Because I know I have to separate myself because I'll think about it the way it's going to go. But I think the fans are thinking the same thing. If he comes out and plays really well, even if they don't win, they feel like, oh, hey, maybe we can win a national championship. But how big of a weekend is it for Peck?
It's massive, Dennis. I mean, this kid, he's come in. We all know what happened. If you follow hockey, follow Michigan hockey, it was in early January. Danny Nelson went into Jack Ivankovic. There's not really much clarity aside from Brandon Arado saying he's going to be out for a long time on if and when he comes back. But I think what you're going to see in this series, you're going to find out how good Stephen Peck is. We had a chance to talk with him the other day. He grew up on the Upper East Side of New York guy. You don't see many New York guys playing college hockey, but this kid's confident. It's going to be his first start at Yost. He came in game 2 in that Notre Dame series when Nelson slid into Ivankovic. But the other 2 games have been on the road against a Minnesota team that Michigan, they really dominated in game 1. I mean, they were out shooting them bad. I think the shots were 50+. They had almost 90 shot attempts in that game. Second game was a little tighter, But the good thing for Michigan in that case, and Ohio State too, and they got tested a little bit in game 2, is they're scoring almost 5 goals a game. I don't think they're going to score 5 goals a game against Michigan State, though. If you look at those 2 games, it was a 3-0 shutout at Munn and then a 3-1 win for Michigan State on the road, similar to basketball where the road team keeps winning, right? It's been very odd. So you've only had 7 goals in the 2 games that they played. I personally, Dennis, I'm an offensive guy and, love the flair on television. I'd love to see 5-4. I just don't know if we're going to see that because Trey Augustine is that good. And Stephen Peck, if he keeps Michigan in the game, if they don't get behind a couple goals early, then I think we're in for probably a 3-2 kind of game, maybe both nights, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Ivan Kovic and Augustine, when you look at the numbers, you can say they're top 5 goalies in the country, but the numbers all back it up too. They do. Top 5 goals against. I think Augustine, top 3 in save percentage. He's awesome. So, with Peck, I was just mapping it out. I know you said there's not a lot of clarity, but 8 weeks from the time when Ivan Kovic got hit with his leg, knee or ankle, I'm not sure. But when
nobody is.
Do you think that? I know it's asking you to speculate that here. Do you think Narado was just saying that there's a possibility that he could come back, just not to put all the pressure on the team and on the goalie, and just leaving that out there? Do you think would you be surprised or would you be shocked if Ivan Kovic actually returns for Michigan this year?
No, I wouldn't be, and I think there's some validity to what you're saying too. I mean, you don't want to completely show your hand, right? I mean, no good coach is going to do that. They're not going to tell you, we're going to get him back in 2 weeks. And if it's Penn State, which I have their game next Saturday at Yost, I know we're talking Michigan State, but what happened to Gavin McKenna, that's going to be an interesting game as well.
What happened to Gavin McKenna?
What happened to Gavin? Nothing happened to Gavin McKenna, man. Well, something happened, but the guy he hits again, it was a jaw wire shot. But no, but I think there is a chance. I do. But when that is, I don't know. In the meantime, Stephen Peck, if he can keep doing what he's doing, again, he's got a great team in front of him. And, it's a team that can score with anybody in the country. Again, almost 5 goals a game they're scoring. But the thing against Augustine is you've got to take his eyes away and you've got to shoot high on him. He is, to me, Dennis, I think back all the years of doing college hockey, and you may have to go back to Ryan Miller to see a goalie, oddly enough, same team, to see a goalie that's as precise and on his game, his goal pads, everything about it. I'm not a goalie expert. I'm not going to pretend to be one, but I know hockey. Everything about him down low, his technical game is so buttoned up. And if you don't get the puck up on him, he's going to stop 95% of them. I mean, his save percentage is almost 940. So that's a big key for Michigan. And they did that in that game at Munn. I'm thinking back to the goals. First one was Spence from the right circle, ripped it up high. The second one, that one was midway up the pipe. And the third one, that one, I think he was screened, but they got him down low. So you got to get it. You got to flash screen him. You got to get in front of him because if he sees it, he's going to stop it.
Well, I've listened to Brandon Narado enough over these last couple of years. He's got his 3 core competencies, he calls them, and one of them is win the net front. So I know that's going to be a big thing if they can get some traffic out in front of them to see if they can get some on the top shelf there. And I like teams that have puck possession as well. It's more entertaining for me. Out of the traps and all that. It's probably because I'm a Red Wings fan and go back and. I feel like when I watch Michigan that they have a little bit. I'm not comparing them to the Red Wings that, there's some dynasty or something, but just that they've got a lot of talent. And I hear once in a while, like I hear you like broadcasts and I'll hear someone say, they can roll 4 lines and it looks like they can. And they've got a deep defense. And I mentioned Duke already, but there's a lot of guys, usually you're talking about your top, your top 2 pair there, but even their third pair looks pretty good. So, they've got a lot of solid skaters in there. Tell me about Michigan and Michigan State, just the talent that you think that is going to be out there tonight and tomorrow night for people that are going to be tuning in.
I mean, you're going to see 26, 27 draft picks playing in this game. It's going to be unbelievable. And I think one thing to your point about the 4 lines and playing with speed, which Michigan has always done, they've always had those players. They are so good at taking the game wide. And one of the things that we're going to track on Friday night for sure is entries, how they're getting in, where they're placing pucks, if they're placing pucks, and something to watch. Yeah, Michigan State, if you look at their decor, this isn't a knock. I think it's just reality. They've got some big bodies. They got 3-4 guys back there that are north of 6'4", 2 that are 6'6". So the foot speed of those D, can they keep up? Can they win battles in the corner? Can they win races to pucks when Michigan doesn't dump the puck in? But there might be situations where they're placing pucks to go win a race, win a battle, get a guy out in the slot and get the puck out to him. I think that's a big area to watch on in both these games, Friday and Saturday, Dennis.
I love it. I can't wait to watch. I got 2 quick hitters for you. One, I mentioned that Miracle documentary. Yep. I took in the first 15 minutes.
Oh.
And at the 15-minute mark, they've got the famous story where they're in Norway and they don't play well. And Brooks keeps them out on the ice and he has them doing back and forth again. And, they say it was an hour and 15 minutes he had them doing. And the next night they won 8-0. Now, I'm watching him. I said, man, Kurt Russell did such a great job.
Oh, he was awesome.
And watching him. So I don't know. You've been around hockey so long. You probably crossed paths when he was alive with Herb Brooks. You got a story about Herb Brooks?
No, he's one guy, Dennis. You've always seen those questions. 3 people or 4 people you could have dinner with.
Yeah.
I never got a chance to meet her, but I've met 5 players and interviewed 5 guys from that team. And I will say, and it came out in the documentary because it didn't come out in the Disney movie about your blank and grave. And every one of them always told me, because I'd always heard that story, and they all confirmed it. And you heard it in the doc. They all talked about it before they played the gold medal game against Finland. And Herb Brooks was right, because it would have been a great thing if, we beat the mighty Soviets, the Russians. But if you don't win the gold, he's right. You would have taken it to your blank and grave, man. So, yeah, the 5 guys I met all confirmed that years ago, and had a chance to talk with Ken Morrow a couple times. Mark Johnson, John Harrington, Jim Craig, and Mark Wells, who passed away. Those are the guys that I've had a chance to interview. In fact, I don't think you can see it. It's behind me, but I have the original Sports Illustrated. It's just over my left shoulder. I was 9 years old. It's autographed by Jim Craig. It's right above that stick, right where my finger is. That's the original magazine. And that's how much hockey impacted my life, Dennis. I was, I was from Lansing. So I was a Magic Johnson fan as a 9-year-old. But when that happened, man, I was a hockey guy, and I've been a hockey guy ever since.
Well, the funny thing, we must be the same age. I don't remember Magic and Bird playing in that 79 game. Everybody talks about it.
I do.
Highest rated game.
Yeah.
But I do remember the Olympics and, and the Miracle on Ice. And I thought, watching all those guys were all my heroes, and it could only go down after that, because I was thinking Jim Craig would be the greatest goalie ever.
Right.
And it didn't work out that way, but
no,
it was so awesome. All those guys, when you start saying their name and everything else. One other thing.
What do you got?
And you probably have no idea about this, but I know you're the announcer for USA Rugby, and I played rugby union for years for the Men with Hill Quakers.
Nice.
Yep, and so I even saw the Cup in '91 in Otley, England.
Really?
They lost to Italy, but it was a great time. From what I remember, it was a great time, one of those games. But what I'd want to ask you is that you've jumped in. You're doing a great job in these games.
Thank
I don't
you.
think anybody likes football as much as me. I love it.
I know you do.
Anyone, but I think rugby is as good of a game the way that it flows. I mean, there's not stoppages. You get the ball out of bounds, you're throwing it right in as fast as you can, and so that flow that it has, and it has all the physicality and everything else. I love it. I just wanted to ask you, when it comes to, I know how much you like football, to compare rugby and football, and when will you be on doing a game for USA Rugby?
Well, thanks, Dennis. Thank you, number one. And number two, so were you a front row guy, hooker? What'd you play?
I played once. I was a hooker, and it collapsed, and I almost broke my back. That was just one time as an experiment. Outside center. I didn't have the speed for a wing, and but I made my mark more after the game of the club.
Understood, man.
It was a lot of fun doing that, the camaraderie and all that stuff that goes into it. But it was a great game. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, you and I have been doing this a long time, right? I mean, I started in '94 in broadcasting, and where I'm going with this is, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've had to do certain things and adjust and transition to literally survive, to stay. I mean, my biggest fear in life is getting a real job, man. It's true, man. I don't want a real job. I've been very lucky for 32 years. Like I know you have too. And so it was after I was doing the KHL for Russian TV America, when everything happened in Ukraine, they shut the network down here in the States, obviously. And, I was making, I'm not afraid to say, I was making $200,000 a year calling the Russian Hockey League, living a block from the White House, walking 5 minutes to work. All the years I was at CBS, nothing compared, man. It was the best job I ever had. So point of me telling you that is it was after that Major League Rugby, the pro league here in the States, because when I was at CBS in 19, I got one network rep in 13 years there. Network meaning big CBS. I was on the cable network all those years doing all the stuff I did, which was great. But I got one network rep, and it was doing the Major League Rugby final in 2019. And still to this date, Dennis, it's the best final the league has ever had. Last year was close. So I really invested into sport because I wasn't getting opportunities I was getting before. I wasn't getting college football anymore. I wasn't doing basketball. I was gone from CBS. And so I've just invested in the sport. The last 2 years, World Rugby came to me, saw me obviously doing the MLR stuff, and I've been doing international stuff for the last 2 years. It's awesome, man. I love it. I do a lot of it right here in the studio at home. I do travel for some. I was out in, some West Coast cities doing the Pacific Nations Cup in September. And, I'm hoping I get invited to the World Cup, man. The U.S. is qualified. 25 years ago or whatever it was when you and I were together at the radio station, you would have told me I was doing rugby now. I would have never believed you. I thought, I thought hockey was what I was going to do full time. And again, like yourself, we have to transition if you want to stay alive in this stuff. So long answer to a great question. I'm really proud of it. And it's really cool to be, the guy that they're leaning on at World Rugby to call the United States matches. It means a lot to me, having served my country, and I love my country. And so it means an awful lot to me, Dennis. So thanks for asking about that.
Yeah, I love it. I was wondering what Barry Sanders would be like as a scrum half, or just giving him maybe inside center, just give him the ball and let him go.
Oh my God. I mean, do you know who Perry Baker is? Great.
I know the name. Yeah.
So him and Zach Test, Zach's now the head coach of the Sevens team. He's a good friend of mine. We've worked together the last couple of years for World Rugby. And Perry Baker did an interview with Terrell Owens. And he's like, why won't you play rugby? And he goes, I ain't playing that sport, man. There ain't no helmets. There ain't no pads. You guys don't wear cups. I mean, we're hockey guys too, right? Yeah. And those dudes are I tell these guys I work with are all Hall of Fame former U.S. players. I'm like, you guys are more nuts than hockey players, man. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I cringe watching games. I'm like, oh, I can't believe he got up from that. It's just.
Yeah, you got to stay away from the pack. You got to stay away from the scrum, man. You get in there. That's
it's dangerous, man.
You might not come out of there.
Yeah, it's I think the problem, or not. I wouldn't say the problem. A part of the challenge here in the States. We've got the NFL, we've got college football, we've got hockey, baseball, basketball. Overseas, I mean, that's what I love about doing the international stuff. I'm out in 160 countries when I'm doing these matches, and it's soccer and rugby, right? Overseas, that's what it is, and so. It's a bit of a challenge that way here in the States, but firmly entrenched in it, man. I'm going to stick with it and work with some great people and love what I'm doing, man.
Who knows, Ben? You might in a couple of years be calling darts over there.
Hey, I call darts. I used to play a lot of cricket back in the day. Where'd we go? Scorekeepers? Was that the bar?
Yeah, they had some cricket going on.
Yeah, dude.
Those podcasters are awesome. Well, I know you're all fired up for these games, but you're going to you probably have to just kind of take it back and chill out a little bit because everybody's hair is going to be on fire from the fans.
Yeah. It's kind of like, Fred and I, and Fred, Fred Pletch. I mean, a great friend of mine. I've been fortunate to work with him all the years at BTN. Worked with him a lot before. And, he's an encyclopedia, man. And, I say, I don't need to prepare as much because I've got him next to me. But I still do. And then we show up and we both got like 9 folders. Like, dude, we don't need all this stuff, right? Just call the game. And so, don't overthink it, right? Just these games are going to be incredible. I think they're, to this point of the season, Dennis, they're the 2 biggest games in college hockey. And it's a privilege and an honor to be able to throw the headset on and go into these rinks and these buildings and call these games still. I'll keep doing it until they won't let me do it anymore, man.
Well, it'll be fun watching you, and for the people that are not there, they'll probably be DVRing it, and the people that are not there, they'll all be watching you tonight and tomorrow. Tell Fred we said hi.
Will do.
Enjoy the games, and it's going to be a super weekend, no doubt. Ben,
thanks, Dennis.
All the best.
Thanks, bud.
There he is, Ben Holden. You'll see him on these games. That's right. There he is, and we are ready to continue on. It's, if you're a hockey fan, this is one of those things, you don't need to tell people, but if somebody was around and said, hey, what are you going to do before the Super Bowl? I mean, there's not a lot of things going on. Well, there actually is. I mean, there's the Pistons are playing, stuff like that, Red Wings, but Michigan State, these next two nights, great. And you got the game coming up tonight, which will be at 7 o'clock on FS1, and then tomorrow, 6:30 on the Big Ten Network. And when you say it doesn't get any better than that, it doesn't really get any better than that. Last night we'll transition and talk a little bit about the Michigan basketball team. It had been a minute since they had got to triple digits. You remember, they were so awesome in that 10-game run where they were a buzzsaw and talk of college basketball. I look at the 10 games, you could say 11 out of the first 13. I mean, they won all of those, but really that 10 games, you take the Oakland game, the opener, then they had two close games, and then it was a 10-game run that spilled into the first game of 2026 in USC. And then they had a 2-game blip, which was a close win against Penn State, who they beat last night. And then, of course, their lone loss against Wisconsin. And they went on the road. The West Coast won both of those games by double digits. But you still watch those. And you're like, hey, this isn't the buzzsaw where they're winning by 100 points. But, hey, they're winning by double figures. But then they had two games where they flipped the switch games. And that made people uneasy. And flip the switch was, 75% of those games, Michigan didn't look like they didn't have their A game. They had their C- game. And it looked like they were going to lose. And then they flipped the switch, and then they won those games. Now these last two at Michigan State, and then last night, they're back to buzzsaw status, and they look like a force, which if you're a Michigan basketball fan, that has to have you grinning from ear to ear. I mean, last night, they didn't score the first bucket of the game, but then they got up on Penn State and didn't look back. The Nittany Lions were ice cold. I'll credit Michigan for that. Namari Burnett goes for a career high 31 points. Michigan wins it 110-69. What's that? 41 points. They're up 32. Is that 32 at the half? I mean, and now it's the best start at 21-1 in school history. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. You like that kind of stuff about your team when they're doing good. You said, well, they've never done this. They've never done that. 21-1, best start in program history. This is a program that's been around for a very long time. Remember a couple of years ago, they were dead last. Juwan Howard's last year. That was the worst that they had done. And that stood out. Now, best start in program history. You love it. Brandon looking at the schedule and talking about Michigan playing Ohio State in basketball on Sunday. And he is exactly right. Michigan will be playing down in Columbus. That will be a 1 o'clock game. And then, as Brandon probably knows, that the women's team is also playing on Sunday, and they are playing also on TV at 3 o'clock. CBS for Michigan, Ohio State, Fox for Michigan, UCLA at 3 o'clock. And then later on, the Super Bowl. After the Michigan, Ohio State game, we'll have the Michigan basketball post-game live show. We'll be watching the Michigan women's game. We'll be previewing the Super Bowl. We'll be talking about what went on with U of M down at OSU. So I'm going to have a lot of fun on Sunday. Super Bowl pregame, Michigan, Ohio State postgame, live Michigan women taking on UCLA. So I'm looking forward to that. And I have to say, I have not spent much time at all watching the women's team play. I have friends who have told me about it. They said, oh, wow, did you see what happened against UConn? And, or just, did you see this? And what about they talk about, I said, yeah, well, they got one great player. No. They got two great players. So my friend tells me. So the great thing about it is just like hockey, you can just jump in and start watching it. You don't have to have watched all year long. And for a lot of the games, they're on the Big Ten Plus. If you don't have Big Ten Plus, I have Big Ten Plus. I don't even watch them all because it's I was trying to put Big Ten Plus on my big TV that I'm watching the games on, and I get there and I'm like, oh, there's the app, and I put it on. It says, oh, my TV. It says it's full. I don't know, whatever. The no more space, and I don't even have how many. I don't have that much going on that TV. That's an error for that TV for as much as I spent on it. So the point is that I have to watch it on this computer over here, which isn't all that bad, but I like watching it on the big screen. And, so I don't, but that's not the case this weekend. They're both on TV, regular TV with FS1, which I believe is 90 on my cable system. And then BTN, which is 45. And then back to Fox and CBS, which are 2 and 6 for most of us, right? Let's do it. Smash likes the buzzsaw status for Michigan. He's there. Brandon says they need to be playing this good if we are going to win the Natty. I would agree with that. And here's the thing that we've seen about them. No Natty's guaranteed. Very difficult to win the 6 games. You got to get a break, and you're gonna have some games. Hopefully they're not going to be like their last 2 trips to the finals. You think about the last trip that they had, it came down to that St. Patrick's Day against Houston, and that game was a miserable game for 99.9% of that game. Michigan looked like they were going to lose that game all the way through. Nothing was really going their way. Everything seemed like it was going for Houston. There wasn't a whole lot of cheering. I was at a bar, and there was zero atmosphere. There was a lot of people there. Zero atmosphere for the game because everybody just sat there and was watching and thinking, well, it just, I don't know what you'd say. They're just waiting for him to lose. Other shoe to drop or whatever. And then, Poole hit the 3 and everybody just went crazy and touched off this huge celebration. The time before that, or they, were trailing by 5 points with 21 seconds, 14 with under, 8 minutes to go to UCLA and then Arkansas. And then you had Burke, hitting that 30-footer. So hopefully they don't have to have anything like that, to get to the championship game. But there's always a moment along the way to winning a championship where it looks like it's all where it's never just where you cruise. You cruise there. And I think last night was good obviously for Burnett. Burnett had been struggling a little bit and, putting up some really low totals, and they don't really have to rely on Burnett. But if in 1 or 2 of the tournament games, I don't think we need Burnett to score, 30 plus. But if he can have a game where he gets hot from outside and knocks down 2, 3, 4, 5 threes, something like that in just 1 or 2 games along the way, that's what you're talking about. And then when it's not Burnett, maybe it'd be McKinney. He'd have a McKinney game. Or if it's not going to be McKinney, it'd be Gale, who was sick and didn't play last night. Those guys, it's nice having that depth. And those 3 guys, whether you have 2 guards or you want to call them, a wing, whatever you want to do, I'll call them both 2/3. They're not all interchangeable, but different nights. And you see what happens when they're all on the same page and everybody's rolling. You you play like they did in Vegas in that 10-game stretch, or the 11 of the first 13. That's what happens, and rarely do you get that. So that's as this month grows older, then they get into March, you say, boy, you wouldn't mind seeing Gale have one of those games. Gale didn't have one of those games actually until the tournament. Nobody would have expected Roddy Gale to have some 26-point outburst like he did, and then he did. So there we go when it comes down to that. I hadn't considered this, but let's consider it. BK says that he would love to see hockey and basketball win a natty this year. He says that's on the table. Yeah, sure. Yes, yes. 97, 98, Michigan hockey won, and you had football, and then you had the Red Wings. How about you just take it? You like to see the Pistons, the Red Wings, and then you have the Michigan hockey, Michigan basketball, and then you take it into the pro sports, and let's just take it into the summer and get some baseball going as well. So there we go. That's it. Michigan Go Blue 1324 says Ivy is greater than Herder. Shaking my head. Well, I was shaking my head as well. I thought the move that they made, not that I liked Ivy, but I get it. You're making a move because you're trying to win a championship this year, certainly get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I thought that they would be going after a number more than one shooter. And when they made the Ivy move, anybody that is endorsing that one, you're just, you're riding along and saying, I just love Trajan Langdon, whatever he does, he's smarter than me, whatever. And I looked at that and said, well, they got to make another move. And then they didn't make another move. And I was at the game last night behind the Pistons bench. My first Pistons game of the year, sitting there, and you're not going to win many games against anybody if you shoot 20%, the other team shoots, above 40% from downtown. But they're relying an awful lot on Duncan Robinson being great from outside because they don't have another 3-point hand to lean on. And I know Herder's just he's a maybe, he can supply something, but it's not. There are at least 3 or 4 guys that they could have got for what looked like a similar type compensation that are playing way better than Herder. So I don't know, Langdon, we'll see how good he is. Kennard, DeSumo, Michael Porter Jr., you could probably throw a couple more in there that you would say would be better 3-point shooters than Big Red, who was standing there on the Pistons bench last night as they got worked over by the Wizards. It was weird. But there you go. I agree at this point right now. And not that I want to be down on the Pistons. The opposite. But I like Ivy. If I could go back and if I knew this was the move, I would say just keep Ivy. Keep Ivy. I know you always got to be looking one move ahead and looking down the road and all that, but the Pistons, this was their year. Next year, the Pacers are going to be back in the mix. The Celtics are going to be back in the mix. Who knows who else is going to be in there? And this is the Pistons' shot, and they go for Herder and give Ivy away for nothing. Herder. It's disappointing, but hey, we'd like to be proved wrong on that. But for one night, now we didn't see anything, but what we did see is exactly what people's worst fear is that if Robinson's cold, then this team isn't going to be able to beat anybody. And, they're losing to the worst team in the NBA because Duncan couldn't hit a shot. Duncan Robinson. That's it. So that's where I'm at. I want to see if I have anything else. Oh, on the football side, the news about Esposito going to the Ravens. I don't know if that's an absolute done deal yet, but it's looks like that is going to happen. It's not going to be a surprise to anyone. That's nothing to get very upset about. If you live and die with every single move or recruiting, ups and downs for Michigan football, I know there's people that are like that. That's okay. I mean, to live and die with it all, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I like Espo. I don't. It's not like I want him to leave or anything, but Michigan will be fine. Is that what you want to hear, or do you want to hear, hear something else? That's my opinion. I think they'll be okay with Espo. I think they'll be able to fill his spot. When you have, remember this. When you hear it, you'll shake your head, and it's not the first time you've heard it, but when you have good coaches, other teams are going to come after them, and you can't keep them all. And so Espo's a good coach, and a pro team is coming to get him. Not going to be the last. I don't know about this particular cycle, but he won't be the last one where it's happened. All right, everybody have a great weekend. Coming up, we will talk with you on Sunday on the Michigan Basketball Postgame Live. Like I said, Super Sunday. But come on down at the Maize and Blue Review. Go to on3.com and sign up. You get the Maize and Blue Review. You get on3.com. You get Rivals. And then you will get me watching these hockey games tonight on the Maize and Blue Review, talking about them there both nights, tonight and tomorrow night. And then we'll be back here on this very feed that you're watching or listening to after Michigan, Ohio State. Have a great weekend and see you tonight or Sunday or tomorrow. Do, 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 do.